What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down the difference between 5-star and 0-star quarterbacks. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things, but also, fellas, if you're a QB or a wide receiver and would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, we are going to be traveling out to 14 more states across the U.S. for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. This weekend, we'll be coming out to Orlando, Florida. That camp is completely sold out, but then we'll be coming out to Phoenix, Arizona, Charlotte, Dallas, the DMV, St. Louis, Honolulu, Boston, Cleveland, Austin, Seattle, Newark, Denver, and Los Angeles, California. So if you guys are local to one of those cities, would like to train with us, check out that very first link in the description below. That is where you guys can get all of the information. Let's get started with this video. So now, first things first here, we're going to be looking at a quarterback who is not ranked 0-star guy, and then we're going to be comparing him to Bryce Young, who is obviously 5-star, highly recruited guy who went to Alabama out of high school. So we're going to talk about the differences between the two and what college coaches look for in that 5-star type guy. So first things first, we're going to break down this kid's mechanics. Now, again, I don't know this guy. I just saw this clip on Twitter, and I wanted to post it to share with you guys because I know a lot of you guys probably have the same problems, right? So big thing about playing the quarterback position, especially nowadays, they're looking for that quarterback who's got that whip, who's got that twitch to their motion, who has that smooth throwing mechanics. Now, unfortunately, there's something called an eye test, right? Now, an eye test isn't necessarily like height and weight and size. It is, but with the quarterback position, the eye test is also having good throwing mechanics. How does he throw the ball? Does it look smooth coming off his hand? Can he deliver a good ball? Can he be consistent, right? And those are all the things a quarterback coach is going to look for in their recruits. And you watch all the 5-star guys, they all have that whip and that twitch to their motion. So this QB does not. Now, we're going to break down some of the mistakes that he does and how you guys can avoid these type mistakes. So obviously, he's got like kind of this lean out of the throw, right? He's throwing, he's set up the throw, he leans out with his head, his release point goes out wide outside his frame. Why does he throw like this? Because I know a lot of you out there throw like this. But when you look at Bryce Young throw, and we're going to look at his in a second, he doesn't do this stuff. What's the difference? What causes him to throw this way and Bryce Young to throw the correct way, quote unquote? And we're going to talk about that. So it starts from the ground up, right? Quarterback coaches look for guys who can obviously use their hips. They want hip throwers and they want leg throwers because that is what's going to give you the arm strength and the velocity on the ball that is required to play at the next level. Because, fellas, at the end of the day, to make a college level throw, you got to be able to use your legs and your hips. You won't be able to do it all arm. So what this quarterback does, like I said, it starts from the ground up. When you guys are trying to throw the ball, you're trying to throw with any kind of velocity, you need to make sure that the majority of your weight, I would say about 65 to 70%, is on your back leg. We do not want my back foot to be outside of my frame. Now, this quarterback does have this back foot a little bit too wide. It's outside of his shoulders, and you see how his back knee is caved forward. So when your base is wide and your back knee is caved forward, that distributes a lot of weight to your front leg. Now, there's something called weight transfer when you're playing the quarterback position. Weight transfer is how you get your power and how you're able to get your hips to rotate through on the throw. So when your back foot is super wide and your weight is shifted forward because the foot is wide, that does not allow you to transfer weight. Your weight is essentially already onto your front side, which is going to cause a flawed throwing motion. Now, where I would tell this quarterback to be is you want to try to have your back foot underneath your back shoulder, and you want to try to keep your knee completely straight. I tell my quarterbacks, try to get your knee to your pinky toe because that will help you sit back on your back leg. Now, I'm sure all of you are thinking, what is he talking about? I've been told my whole life, don't throw off of your back leg. And I don't want you to throw off your back leg. I want you to be able to transfer your weight. But when your weight is essentially already transferred to your front leg, watch what happens to his back leg. You see how it extends, both of his legs lock out because there is no rotation at his hips. Everybody always asks me, Coach, should I think about pushing off of my back leg or rotating at my hips? You want to think about shifting your weight from your back quad to front quad because that is what will activate the hips. But when your weight's already shifted, the hip activation will not be there. Now, why is that a problem? Why is that an issue? When all of your weight is onto your front side, your throwing sequence is off, that kinetic chain, if you will. So the throwing sequence for a quarterback is very similar to like hitting a baseball. When you hit a baseball, what do? You have the bat back, you take a step with your front foot, and the hips will bring the bat through. Your bat stays loaded, your front shoulder stays loaded as you take a step, and the squash of the back bug, which is the hip rotation, brings the bat through. Baseball players or hitters are rotational athletes. Quarterbacks are also rotational athletes. So the kinetic chain is fairly similar. So what we do when my weight is forward, I don't stand in the batter's box with all my weight on my front leg. That doesn't allow me to rotate my front shoulder. You see how his front shoulder is coming open. Now what's going to end up happening here is his front stride's going to get down, but then the shoulders are going to end up coming through the throw before the hip and before the back foot does, leaving the back foot and the back hip behind him. So all of his weight is forward. That puts an incredible amount of stress on your shoulder and an incredible amount of stress on your elbow. And I know a lot of you out there, I'm not trying to bag on this kid. I know a lot of you out there have this exact same problem because of an improper base. And we're going to show it in the Bryce Young example, because that is what college coaches are looking for. And that's the whole purpose of this video. But if he would have his weight back, when your weight is loaded on that back leg, not shifted forward, and we are sitting back on it, that will allow him to rotate his front shoulder. When your weight is on that back leg, you have a much easier time rotating your shoulder. So now, if he goes back with the ball and his shoulder is rotated, front foot is down, but since he's transferring his weight, the hips can come through before the ball does. And when the hips come through before the ball, that's where we get that whip and that snap to the throw that every college coach is going to be looking for in their quarterbacks. They do not want to see a quarterback who throws all upper body and head and lean out of it this way. Now, the reason why he leans out of it, and this is where a lot of quarterback coaches go wrong, they don't know the cause and effect of the lean. Because the lean as a quarterback, we're rotational athletes, just like a baseball player. But if I'm not rotating at my hips, I got to get the ball there, especially when it's a far 30-yard throw, 25 to however long throw this is. So I got to do something to generate power. So dipping your head, pulling your elbow, all of that is from a lack of hip rotation and a lack of weight transfer due to an improper base. So all of those bad habits can somewhat get corrected by having the correct base, because he dips his head. Now that's what causes the arm to fly outside of his frame and have that sidearm, that real wide release point that a lot of college coaches can't stand, fellas. Trust me, I say this because I'm trying to help you. I wish it was just about getting the ball there, but to get yourself in the room, to get yourself in the conversation, you have to understand that the quarterback coaches are looking for something. They're looking for a specific player type. They're looking for a guy to throw the ball a certain way. But not only that, having good mechanics is how you're efficient. When you get to the next level and you play college ball, it's a lot of throws, man. And if you throw like this, your elbow and your shoulder, that is not sustainable. You cannot do that 100 times in practice. Your arm's going to fall off. So I'm going to play this full speed, and then we're going to take a look at Bryce Young throw and talk about the differences, because this is what you're looking for in quarterbacks. And you find any NFL quarterback, find me one that throws like how the last guy threw, but find me one that throws similar to Bryce Young. You can find a whole lot. So let's take a look at number one, start with his base. Where is his weight? His weight is loaded on the back leg. Where is his back knee? Completely straight. Back foot is under his frame and his weight is loaded back. So let's talk about this. Why was that good? Number one, that's going to allow him to transfer weight and let his hips to rotate through. Number two, that is going to allow him to rotate with his front side. So when his hips rotate through, the hips can come through before the ball. So let's play this full speed. That is what you want out of a quarterback. You want a rotational athlete from the hips. And that is what I want to get across to you guys. Because trust me, a lot of you just don't get to this position because you don't have the correct base. If we can get 65, 70% of my weight to this back leg, stay nice and light with the front foot, fellas, all of my problems will be solved. Because look what he does here. Watch his front shoulder. So his front shoulder is able to close and stay loaded. All of his weight is still staying on this back half when his foot strikes. So now it's about transferring his weight. Now it's about shifting that weight to the front foot, which will cause this back hip to drive through before the ball. And fellas, this throw, I tell you this right now, when you get to this like C curve, if you will, where this back hip is through, there is no pressure on the elbow, no pressure on the shoulder. This is a leg and a hip throw. And you have to be able to throw with your legs and your hips if you want to make college level throws. That's why college coaches look for quarterbacks who throw the ball like this. And does he lean his head? Does he swing his elbow down? No, everything stays fairly level. He's just rotational. He is rotating at his hips. And this is a deeper throw than the last example. How does that make sense? And it's not a strength thing. It's all about his mechanics and his base. If that last quarterback, his knee was caved inward, his weight was on the front side, that will not let you rotate your shoulder. Everything will be coming forward and the foot will be trailing behind. But because this is under his frame, because his weight stays back, that allows him to rotate, that allows him to separate those hands and have that nice whip to the throw with a ton of velocity, and we can extend at the release. Fellas, this is what coaches are looking for. And I say this because I'm trying to help you. I'm not trying to discourage anybody that has bad mechanics. I wish I had this advice when I played, because I didn't have this advice. I was a big work ethic guy, right? And a lot of people say that, but not a lot of people do that. I'm talking 2-3 workouts. I'm doing mechanics work. I'm throwing on a run. I'm lifting. I'm doing all this stuff. But if I would have had somebody giving me the correct advice, and then I could have matched that with the work ethic that I had, I would have been a way better player. And I wasn't a bad player either. But I say this because I'm trying to help you. I want you to fix these habits now, so when you are in a situation where you got to impress a coach, you can actually pass that eye test. You can get yourself in the door, and then it's about what you can show on film. So let's play this full speed one more time. Great throwing mechanics here from Bryce Young. That's what they're looking for in those 5-star guys. The difference between that 5-star guy and that 0-star guy a lot of the times is how they throw that ball. Now, next clip I want to talk about, a big difference between those guys that are unranked and those top guys is they are not smooth when they are out of the pocket. So let's watch this quarterback throw here. He's going to be throwing on the run. So I want you to pay attention to what he does here. See how he rips his front shoulder loaded, and his throw is in like 2 parts. After this, we're going to look at an example here from Arch Manning, who's obviously 5-star quarterback going to Texas. But I want to talk about the smoothness of their throw. There's a smoothness to that release, to how the ball comes off their hand, that college coaches are looking for. So let's go back to this first example here. So when you're throwing on the run and you're escaping out of the pocket, usually what do you have happening? You have somebody chasing you, right? So if you're on the move and you got to throw to your left side and you load up your shoulder, number one, that's wasted motion. Number two, we slow down, and a defender, if he's chasing me, could catch me. Now, imagine this. I'm escaping out of the pocket. I got a tight throwing window because in college, what happens? Everybody on the other side of the field gets faster. Everybody's stronger. Everybody's bigger. Everybody's more talented. So those throwing windows that you had in high school go from 5 yards to 2.5 yards. So any kind of wasted motion, any kind of hinge in your throw can cause the ball to be picked off, cause you to be late, and we don't have those types of throws that I could have made in high school. And this is a habit that I used to have coaches teach me all the time. Hey, close your front shoulder, go attack the target. But fellas, that ain't going to get the job done when it's big-time college football. I'm going to tell you that right now. So watch what he does here. If this guy were open right now, he's not comfortable throwing from this position. He has to load his shoulder and then throw. Now, the problem with that is it's wasted motion. So let's look at this example here from Arch Manning. I want you, and I'm not saying you got to make this type of throw, but I want you to watch how smooth this is. You see how there's no load. It's just a separation of his hands, and he's able to deliver a strike. He could throw this ball if he wanted to the sideline, back across the field, check it down to somebody because he is comfortable throwing from this position. His shoulders are level, his hips are level, and he's able to just flick the wrist and get it out of there. That is the smoothness factor that I am talking about right there. They don't want to see guys that are super like twitchy and jerky and stiff. Like if Arch Manning had to rip his shoulder closed, what do you think would happen? He would probably get caught and that throwing window would probably be closed. But he's able to just throw. And it's all about your throwing sequence. Just like we talked about from the last example, to generate power. Why do quarterbacks need to have weight on their back leg? Because that helped them transfer their weight and that helped them rotate their shoulders. That's how they generated torque. Your hips went through and your shoulders went back. Very similar to like a baseball swing. So on the run, what you would do to be more consistent, all you got to do is step with your throwing side foot. And when you step with your throwing side foot, that's when you separate your hands. That's when you close the front shoulder. And if you can get to this position, you'll be consistent. You step because that gets your hips going through. You rotate because that's where that torque comes from. And if you just kick through with that leg, that's a ton of torque on the ball. You don't need to rip your shoulder closed for direction. All that's going to do is cause wasted motion, wasted time, and shorten up that throwing window that we have. Because again, fellas, that difference between those recruitable guys and those non-recruitable guys is a lot of it's a smoothness factor. Like I said, there's an eye test, not just about height, not just about weight, not just about speed. When it comes to the quarterback position, they want to see you throw the ball a certain way. And I'm just being completely honest with you. If you don't have that type of motion and you got to rip the shoulder, attack the target, all these 5-star guys, they're very twitchy, they got a great whip on the ball, and they don't have wasted motion. They're comfortable just throwing from wherever. So let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. I'm not saying that you got to make this caliber of a throw because this is an insane type throw. But the mechanics of it, that's what you need to have. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, we are traveling out to 14 more states this offseason for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps. So check out that very first link in the description below if you're interested and if you guys would like to get some work in with us. If we are coming to a city near you, I'll see you guys next time.